Hi, everybody. We're just waiting for people to come in. If you could all stay, unless you're reading, obviously, if you could all stay muted, that would be fantastic. But feel free to blow up the chat with praise and excitement about poetry and fiction and nonfiction and everything happening tonight and more. We are super excited to have you all here. We're super excited to be celebrating this issue that is coming out on Thursday. So everybody keep your eyes peeled. This is a nice little sneak peek from some of the many contributors that we're very excited about. So tonight, you will be hearing, I assume you all know this because you saw the event, but you will be hearing from Julia Guez, Corey Van Landingham, Patricia Liu, Tucker Leighty-Phillips, Emilia Phillips, no relation, as far as I know, Laura Van Prooyen, Spencer Reece, and Chris Santiago. So just a couple words on Zoom etiquette before we dive in. So first of all, like I said, it would be fantastic if you could mute yourselves if you're not the one reading, just so that we don't have an accumulation of background noise, making it more difficult for some people to hear. In addition, feel encouraged to turn on your cameras. We love to see lots of smiling faces, and yeah, you don't have to keep your camera off if you're not reading or anything like that. So yes, also this reading is being recorded, so fear not. If you have to go halfway through, well, I guess nobody here is running late, but for people who run late, totally fine. And obviously, if people aren't here or you want to send this to friends or something like that, feel free to do so. We will be reaching out after the reading with a link to the recording on YouTube. So I think that's everything. One of my members of my leadership team, feel free to chime in if I've left anything out, but I think that's it. Perfect. I'm getting the thumbs up, which means I covered everything. So without further ado, I would be thrilled to kick things off and start with our first reader, who is Julia Guez. So Julia Guez is a writer and translator based in Brooklyn. Her essays, interviews, fiction, poetry, and translations have appeared in Guernica, Poetry, The Guardian, Bomb, the Brooklyn Rail and Kenyon Review. Four-Way Books released her first full-length collection, In an Invisible Glass Case, which is also a frame, in 2019. Her next book, The Certain Body, from which, by the way, we're publishing the title poem, which I'm very excited about. Her next book, The Certain Body, will appear in 2022. Please welcome to the Zoom stage, Julia.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you. It is such a treat to be here. Such amazing people and poets that I get to read alongside and that I'm seeing, and saw in the waiting room and I'm seeing here now. And it's such a gorgeous issue. So I'm really thrilled to be able to celebrate this. I'm going to read a couple poems from my first book and then the title poem, Peter, that you and Kate and Heidi and David and Shang and Matilda and everybody else has made possible and has left me feeling just really, really good about. Seeing in the magazine Thursday morning when that magazine pops. This first piece is called Still Life with Viking. Maybe there is no magic, no technicolor, but inside the seed there is a kingdom. Ask me anything, I will tell you the truth. It is a fatal wound for every wolf and thimble. Even the night watchman is not immune. We may as well sing George inside the throat, a carriage, a pony, a parachute. This next piece is called Nocturne. All but braying. A sadness that animal, and the walk is a rite wherein the sadness may, if only for a moment, forget its many reasons to be. Hence the attention again to other fields where leaves burn by the fence posts and the fields further out, forgetting the leaves all together and the smell of them. The walk is a ritual wherein the scenery exists mostly outside the self. There is a ridge, then below us only ocean, a kind of shorthand for stillness born on the back of something else. Have we made it across the vast plain of night? No. I'm going to read some new poems, including the one that'll run in the magazine this Thursday. This first one is called Meditation at Calacoon. Sad to be gathering green then gold so fast. The trees, a filigree outline of things made even barer before the fullness of season's failures forgets itself completely, coming to believe in this alone. Birdlessness couldn't be any bitterer. More and more night pretends to a certain permanence, no less painful because it isn't real. See the crocuses in the side yard. See here the daffodils. They won't stay long either, none of this will. Not the city with its sea levels rising, not the sea, no God born of the sea foam, not even mothers and sons. This would be unbearable without. This is the certain body. There are just two things I think you need to know that might add to your entrance into this poem, and if they don't, just ignore them. But the first is that I went to see this exhibit that Vija Kelman's put on in New York not too long ago, and she had all these rocks that she'd painted to look real, and she would watch the ocean for nights on end or watch the night sky and paint these like slight variations, but she'd walk into just rooms of the night sky from painted from the same spot over and over and over again. The second is that Victor Shklovsky wrote this piece called The Art as Technique, which I've not found my favorite translation of yet. So if you know one, let me know. But in it, he talks about the sort of purpose of art as he sees it, to make the stone stony. Like art exists such we may recover the sensation of life, but it was this sort of stone stony that I really grokked. The certain body, each taking months to sand, surfaces made aware of their own precarity, and also the miracle of them being here in this museum, given all the forces arrayed against seeing the same night so long, the same sky, same city of stars, not the same at all, repeating themselves on this body of water whose waves are italicizing across a canvas, meant to remember the real thing, painted stones whose stoniness fix the image in memory. And I have two more. All of these poems have words in them. There were a couple in my last book that would have a single sentence or a single word or none. But I've decided to just go full on here. No naked poems in this next book. This one is Still Life When All Our Symptoms Seem to Have Symptoms of Their Own. The dark is very dark on the night side of things. Long is very long. My heart is feathered fire, smallest flying flag. Wings are sad, sad, sad. singing not at all slow. My heart closing in on itself, not unlike a peony whose own process of becoming has been set back until the open-handed flower is tight and green. Poor thing, thrumming in this invisible glass case, which is also a frame, where the most contagious are taken to be alone there all together, praying the same prayer. I'll end with an ode, which seems right and good and radical to do these days, but right and good anyway. Also ending with a lot of gratitude. Thank you all so much for being here. You're in for so many treats. I'm so excited for all we're about to hear. Ode. The leech and the lacrimal are a no-go now. We must devise our own cures. By the pew, a booth. Do not stop there. There may very well be another garden beyond the garden in the courtyard, and at some point, high walls. Do not let them deter you, though. They're only ornamental. In one of these gardens, you'll find a set of keys by the arbor, not far from a pond filled with coins. You'll think to yourself, this is it. It isn't. I'll be waiting on the very next lawn with a hand of bananas on a blanket, some smart water, sandwiches, and a sign there to say, you are closer than you think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julia. Oh, those endings, every single one of them. Thank you, Julia. So next up, loving all the reactions, by the way, the hearts and the claps, and love it. So keep it up. Next up is Tucker Leighty-Phillips. Tucker is a writer from Southeastern Kentucky who is a graduate of the MFA program at Arizona State University. His website is tuckerlp.net. Without further ado, Tucker.
Hey, can you all hear me okay? Oh, okay, I saw 2 thumbs up, so I'll assume that both of you can. Great. Thank you so much, Peter and the rest of the Adroit team. I was a reader for Adroit way back in the day, so this feels like the beautiful dream come to life. I'm gonna read 2 little micro fictions. The story I have in Adroit is much longer, and I didn't think it would be appropriate to read in such a slim space. So if you enjoy what I read and you just say to yourself oh, I wish this was 6 to 7 times longer, I have a treat for you on Thursday. But until then, I hope these will hold you over. I'm posting a link to one in the chat, which is available online. It's called Down the Tunnel, Up the Slide. It's a silly one. This is how it begins. Your father grants 5 minutes in the play place while he orders 2 hamburgers. You bolt through the door and into the glass room, slip your shoes into the cubby, gaze at the colorful, massive structure towering over you. Up the tunneled ladder you climb, latching onto each rubber rung, dawdling on all 4s, fully feral. You rush through each section and subsection, burrowing deeper into the fluorescent caverns. In this place, you are an explorer. In this place, you are an escapee. In a tube, you face off with another child at the opposite end and heading your direction. You squeeze past one another, giggling all the while. You are but 2 cells in this rich, brilliant network. From a window on one side, you overlook the parking lot where cars pull in and out from the highway, unknowingly surveilled. On the other, you look into the restaurant where your father is holding an unraveled burger wrapper, bun splayed in 2 parts, open face and open face as he shows it to a manager. He has found a stray hair or perhaps a fly. Your father is always finding hair and flies. You, however, have slipped into the heart of the edifice, out of the dense tunnels and into a large room, round, saucer-like, a view of every angle. And there are other children here gathered. You wonder if their parents are finding flies in their burgers too. One boy hunches as the others stand. Soon he will be too big. You scan the congregation, this parade of squirm. Into a ball pit you celebrate, dip your hands into the pile, run your fingers across the lining in search of coins and artifacts. This is what your brother taught you. You find something, a dum-dum sucker, an explosive shade of blue. It is dry and packed with dehydrated flavor. You pop the sucker into your mouth. Let the artificial berry dissolve. Steep your saliva with its richness. Some other child's loss. You drop the sucker back among the balls. Let it fall into the pit for another to find, your small act of camaraderie. This is how it ends. Your father knocks on the glass. You whisk down a slide and grab your shoes, return to two legs. The blue still purrs on your tongue. Okay, that's the first one. So much of my work is just like, remember the 90s? So that's some of what that was doing. I have one more. I'm gonna also, just for people who need it, I'm gonna share a link to it. Okay, that should work. Will someone just give a thumbs up if that works? Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you again. This is gonna be my last thing. This is not published anywhere, and it's literally the most recent thing I wrote, so I'm just going for, I'm going for it, whatever. It's called Reckon. It might look a lot different eventually, so bear with me. Reckon. I reckon I should go to the store. I reckon I should fix us some dinner. I reckon I might buy some moon pies, even though I know they aren't good for me. My father used to test my blood sugar as a form of punishment. And I reckon that that's why I don't trust doctors. Technically, he was my stepfather. Father is or was or might be some form of vacant space. And that's capitalism, I reckon, my mom taking on 2 jobs without an increase in pay. I reckon that I think about her dying too much. Sometimes it feels like I'm killing her. Right, like your parents are dead, they say. I reckon it's been 8 years since my buddy Todd died. That's an alias, since I don't reckon he'd want to be invoked here. So it's not him, even though I know that it is. And even if I mentioned him by name, he would not be himself for you. He'd be whoever you knew, the person who passed a while back, the one who you think of shrouded in white light and laughter. I reckon there's a kind of loss that's universal, and he's just one of mine. I reckon a lot of the big old Southern houses on Zillow have dark histories. And I reckon that it ain't contained to the house. I have done nothing to heal the past today. And hell, I reckon I should do something. And hell, I reckon with you every day. But I ain't right with God either. I reckon with heaven too. Not because I'm afraid of dying, but because I'm afraid of eternity. Or being in one place too long. It doesn't matter where it is. I fear lots of things. Scorpions, identity theft, left turns while driving, and I'm still trying to reckon with all of them. And today, I fear contention and my own mistakes, and the thought that maybe someone out there might be reckoning with me. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Tucker. I have no idea, you said that's your most recent piece. I have no idea if that's an early draft, but I hope it's not, because then that makes me feel really bad about my own work. Thank you so much for sharing. Love both of those pieces. So next up, we have Patricia Liu. Yes, sorry, it's just making sure it's in alphabetical order. Next up, we have Patricia Liu. Patricia is a senior at Harvard. She's studying English and East Asian studies. Fun fact about Patricia that's not in her bio is that Patricia is an alum of our online summer mentorship program, which has been in existence ever since 2013. So shout out there. We've got a couple of mentors in the Zoom, which I'm very excited to see, including Emilia, shout out. So back to Patricia's bio. Patricia, senior at Harvard, studying English and East Asian studies. Her poetry appears or is forthcoming in Poetry, the Cincinnati Review, and the Colorado Review. and she's from Oklahoma. So let's give Patricia a great welcome. Oh, we might have a frozen screen with Patricia. Let's see. I'm not the only one seeing a frozen screen, right? Okay, yes. Patricia's frozen and she's gone. Oh no, she's back. Welcome.
Hi, sorry. I feel like that was probably the worst moment for my internet to cut out, but I am very and even more grateful to be here today with all of you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I was going to mention the fun fact here too, but you know, doing the Adroit Journal summer mentorship program was really one of my first introductions to the study and just the sharing of poetry. I think it's one of the first times I let someone else read my work. So I'm very, very grateful to Adroit and to be here with all of you. So I will be reading one poem today. It's called Watchdog, and it is about a dog. So without further ado, Watchdog. Today's spent echoing the beagle as I watch from the window, assessing each speck of land of this place called home or territory or memory, each plot of maple, juniper, Japanese plum, the latest graft that never took, and the wisest, sickest trunk of them all. When she's inside, she tries to dig. When she's outside, she digs and digs and digs, and I want to hold her close, to know what it is she searches for so ravenously. She gets a blow dry after showers, the pasta sauce beef, a nice long leash of freedom, and she's getting older too. Who says she can't have it all? Who says she can't have the one glorious litter with not a single heartworm, stillborn, Volvo hit, or worse, the neighbor kid claiming the runt as his own, as if she hadn't already carried and licked the babe. Myself, I've always been short on the wanting. Once in junior high at the round barn dance next to a boy I can't quite remember. Now in the rested hankerings of making up and out and again when I tell Bingo, turn away. She's yowling at the cicada killer as it body slams its hard-won corpse over and over towards the tinted glass. The wings of the prey still folded, inert, so absent of the clumsy quiver, the signature move to announce to the world, I'm hungry, I'm fighting, I'm in it to win. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Patricia. And yes, I agree with Alana Esposito. Love the delivery from the Zoom chat. And might I just remind everybody, undergrad, we love to see wonderful, wonderful, wonderful student work. And thankfully, since we have such a significant following in the high school and undergraduate spaces, we get to see so much wonderful, wonderful student work. So thank you, Patricia. And moving right along to our next reader, Emilia Phillips. So Emilia Phillips is the author of 4 poetry collections from the University of Akron Press, including Embouchure, I hope I'm saying that right, in 2021, and 4 chapbooks. Winner of a 2019 Pushcart Prize and a 2019 to 2020 NC Arts Council Fellowship, Phillips' poems, lyric essays, and book reviews appear widely in literary publications, including Agni, American Poetry Review, Gulf Coast, the Kenyon Review, New England Review, the New York Times, Plowshares, Poetry, and elsewhere. She's a faculty member in the MFA writing program in the Department of English and cross-appointed faculty in Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies program at UNC Greensboro. We're so excited to welcome Emilia. And fun fact, I just drove through your state. Welcome, Emilia.
Hi, Peter. I wish we had gotten to say hello in person, but it's so nice to see you here. And thank you so much to everyone. Yes, next time, please let me know. Thanks so much for everyone for being here and to the fellow readers. I'm already so inspired, and I know it's just going to keep getting better and better as we collectively come together and share this work. So I'm going to read 2 poems that are forthcoming in the issue on Thursday. And they're from a sequence that I'm calling The Queerness of Eve. And these poems are imagining a Garden of Eden narrative in which Eve is not sexually or romantically interested in Adam. They were kind of inspired by Adrienne Rich's 1980 essay, Compulsory Heterosexuality and Lesbian Existence, in which she writes, "We may faithfully or ambivalently have obeyed the institution of heterosexuality, but our feelings and our sensuality have not been tamed or contained within it." And these two poems appear at different points in the sequence, one of which appears early on, where she's kind of thinking about her place in the Garden of Eden and also her body and relationship to Adam. And the second one, it actually takes place after she has dreamed up the other woman for the Garden of Eden. So I was trying to kind of imagine that the snake was not, and the snake and the tree were not the vehicles for her quote unquote sin, but it was actually a desire for another woman. So I'm just going to jump right in. This is book 7, and there are 12 books. Of nakedness, I was never ashamed. Of shame, I was never naked. I never sought the fig tree's shadow or its brief leaf. Adam clothed me in want when I refused his body grief. And when he had me, I knew my duty. He clothed me in a cloak of dried bees, stinger stitched. I was a Christmas cactus, my blood bright flowering, my desert making want evaporated from my tongue as if my teeth could flint heavens from earth, water from land, woman from man, woman from woman. Don't think the garden was perfect. My feet were calloused there just the same as the cast out lands. Thorns always pricked. I was lonely. From his teeth, Adam fishboned meat. And the second poem is book 10. The cypresses reached the clouds ran like stockings. The cypresses seemed to wood feather the roof of my mouth when I was elsewhere benerved. What I called my pleasure, elsewhere here, her mouth on me, tangerine pulp. Words came as ants synapsing to syrup, each inadequate, each everything. She gave me her tongue. She gave me a way to refuse and a way to yes the world in brisk barter. She gave me the sweet meats of power surrendered and power offered. The garden was prolific in wild invasives, yes, in knowledge. I made a kudzu rope to bind my wrists to my desire and to unbind my future from the pluperfect past, the tense present in I am without I am. I believe in God as a knot that knows how to untie itself. From this new knowledge, a secret fruited, known as a bruise, to thumb the touch apparent. Thank you.
Pardon me losing my mind in the Zoom chat, but like, I love those poems so much. Thank you so much, Emilia, for sharing those. I seriously feel like there's no other option but to write after this. I don't know about anybody else. Hopefully I'm not the only one that feels that way. I'm seeing a lot of head nodding, so that's a good indication. I think there are going to be a lot of poems and stories that come to be tonight. So moving right along, next up is Spencer Reece. So Spencer Reece is the author of The Road to MS from FSG in 2014. He is the National Secretary for the Bishop of the Episcopal Church in Madrid, Spain. And we are so thrilled to have him here tonight, coming to us from Connecticut, which, fun fact, is my home state. Welcome, Spencer.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? It's lovely to be with you all and lovely to follow Amelia, who I last remember reading in Madrid a poem about a dead horse that was, I can't get it out of my head. That's right. Yeah, no, it's an incredible poem. I don't know the title, but she's a fantastic writer, and it's a thrill to be with you all, and thank you for inviting me. I'm now in New York City. Just to update the bio, Peter, I don't expect you to remember or keep track of my biography. I left Madrid about a year and a half ago, and I'm doing this reading of 2 short poems from the apartment where my mother and father live in Old Lyme, Connecticut. And yeah, and I live and work in New York City now as a parish priest at St. Mark's, which is in Jackson Heights. These 2 poems, I'm thrilled to have them published in the magazine, are from an upcoming manuscript, my 3rd book of poems, coming 10 years after the latter. The name of the book is called Acts, A-C-T-S, after the book in the Bible. But I also like the fact that it sounds like an axe. So here we go, a poem to follow, Lesbian Eve. This poem is called Taize. It's a short poem, and it is simply about the experience of visiting this town in southern France with a friend, where all these ecumenical monks gather and sing. It's a sort of a phenomenon in Europe, and I got a lot of young people go there, and they're famous for their chanting music. And so I went there when we could safely gather in large groups, which I hope we can again soon. The name of the poem is Taize, which is the name of the town. And there's some chanting that happens in this short poem, so you'll hear me chant. And the poem is like a column, and there's no punctuation. And it's about going there with an old friend of mine. Taize. Sam, my friend, August plods, the month closest to death, full of emptiness and empty of fullness. Month of my birth. I pick up my red plastic bowl, sup the terrible granular coffee. The coffee there is the worst coffee you've ever had in your life. Sup the terrible granular coffee. I say to myself, I say I will stay with the love in front of me. The orange hall smells of feet. The monks assume their places. Together we chant. Laudate Dominum, laudate Dominum, omnes gente, alleluia. Sam, to my right, the pleached trees, cicadas preach all over the place like the nerve endings of gods. Sam Owen, I am the godfather to your boy, Martin. I am made from what others have seen in me, what others name in me. Laudate Dominum, laudate Dominum, omnes gente, alleluia. I kneel, I search above, I stop interrupting for once in my life. I lay down my pack. Whatever the question, the answer is love. And the other short poem in here that will be published on Thursday is called Old Lyme Rhyme. And it is a description of this apartment from which I'm speaking to you from tonight. And I think that's all I need to say. My little dog, Mr. Coconut, is making little yelping sounds. That's not me. I think he's okay. All right, Coconut, come here. Okay, the poem is called Old Lime Rhyme. Isn't that the great thing about Zoom, that dogs can enter? That never happened before, poetry readings. Okay, here we go. Old Lime Rhyme. Again, there's no punctuation. I lift up my eyes in the big Y aisle. Where is my help? Where is my help? In the checkout with our coupons, my father rants about Republicans. My mother's teeth the color of worms. Her greasy hair in a top knot. It's a small rental. Her second-hand wheelchair smells like a compost heap. We eat meals delivered in black plastic. The sea says, don't think twice. Or does it say, you cannot do this twice? The cranberry light dices Connecticut, tints the blue berms. A buoy bell chimes. St. Anne's steeple splices a sky the color of a crawl space. My mother urinates into a commode on Mile Creek Road. The liquid drums down on the plastic bucket like a rain squall. The bureaucrat says they're on the list to be dissected for free, and could we press 3 for Social Security? If we wanted a box in wood or plastic, the prices varied. Salt box houses locked, tight Yankee thrift, where the librarian smells like mothballs on Lime Street and says, oh, that's nice. The estuary shifts with awls and mice. Switchgrass, sea myrtle, marsh elder, glasswort, sweet pepper bush, austere Connecticut, my mysterious state, remote and elegant. Next door lesbians, my mother said, we're not lesbians, we're swept into urns. Audrey and B. Audrey and B. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Spencer. Oh my gosh, those poems get me every single time. Yeah, I agree with everybody in the comments saying wow in caps. Also, I just want to highlight, there was a request from Riley Hannah to show us Mr. Coconut, and I just want to underline that request. Perfect, it's happening. So I'm gonna wait on introducing the next reader. Oh my gosh, hi. Thank you so much, that made my night. Okay, thank you, Spencer. So our next reader is Chris Santiago. Chris Santiago is the author of Tula, winner of the 2016 Lindquist and Venom Prize for Poetry, selected by A. Van Jordan. His poems, fiction, and criticism have appeared in Field, Copper Nickel, Pleiades, and the Asian American Literary Review. He holds degrees in creative writing and music from Oberlin College and received his PhD in English from the University of Southern California. The recipient of fellowships from Kundiman and the Mellon Foundation / American Council of Learned Societies, Santiago is also a percussionist and amateur jazz pianist, which is a very cool fun fact. He teaches literature, sound culture, and creative writing, which is such an interesting combination, at the University of St. Thomas, and lives in Minnesota. So welcome, Chris. We're so thrilled to have you.
Thank you, Peter. I'm sorry about that bio. Was that the one that you pulled from Milkweed? Because it's like so bloated and full of stuff. I would
whatever.
Spencer, Emilia, everybody, I loved all of that work. That was so cool. And in addition to the dogs, I think one of the good things that's come out of this insane couple of years is to be able to be at events with people across the country. I mean, Minneapolis is pretty cool. I like it here, but I love being able to hear people reading in New York and California and Europe and all across the country. It's really great. And I love this kind of fellowship we have together. So thank you for listening in advance. I'm going to read some of the poems that I'm so thrilled to have appear in Adroit. When my book came out, Adroit and Peter were kind enough to take one of the last stragglers that hadn't been from my book that hadn't been placed anywhere yet. And I was so thrilled to have that poem appear. This poem is called States and Capitals. And this almost never happens, but it came out almost in a draft. It was like 1 to 3 drafts because I think the pressure of all the things that are happening right now just sort of forced this one out. States and Capitals. The capital of January is January. The capital of a hospital is the morgue. The capital of the hospital is a refrigerated truck. The capital of the truck is oil. Oil tells the president to stand down. The president looks toward the Capitol building. It is a capital idea. The sentries that guard the idea do not believe in it. They believe in the guarding, that only they know who it must be guarded from. The capital is in each of them. It is infected with the anti-idea, the belief in the president. The viral load increases. The capital thick with infection. The virus builds its capital in each branch of the lung. When the lungs no longer work, it moves its capital to the trash-covered ground. The capital of death is under siege. Death builds its capital in America. The nursery is the capital of death. Death is a country lacking hospital beds. Inside the cab of its refrigerated truck, death idles the engine. I apologize that the second poem is also about death. My mother passed away 6 years ago, and it's taken a long time to process. I don't think you ever really finished that, but I think the poems that are sort of grieving poems are kind of just working their way through the pipeline right now. Those thoughts were there, but I just couldn't write about that for a while. I know some people do. There's some amazing writers who just are almost like journalists reporting on their psyche, but I'm somebody who needs like some distance from the things happening. Oh, I had warned you guys that I might have my 12 and 9-year-old barging in, so I can kind of hear them roaming around back there. So apologies in advance. Hello, Mr. Coconut. That sounds like a great name from an album, by the way. Hello, Mr. Coconut. Like I could just see that being a great indie album. This is called the third anniversary of your mother's death. Take a selfie beside the Library of Alexandria. Take another as the burning library itself, grown with labor. Already you are giving birth to the idea of the ancient world. No technology has surpassed the mirror. Freud says the goal of grieving is introjection. I am triggered by the word encrypt. I stare at the midpoint between my eyes until the smoke begins to crown. One story contained galleons, another the scent of lilies. Okay, and I think I was inspired by you guys. Oh, I'm frozen for a second. Oh, there, I'm back. I was inspired by Tucker. I'm gonna just close with one more poem, if that's okay. And this is actually a new poem. And I was also trying to work through what happened last year living in Minneapolis with George Floyd and the city being on fire. And I just couldn't get over the fact that it started over a $20 bill, that it was what was perceived to be a counterfeit $20 bill. I've always loved the word sawbuck. Sawbuck, people use that for a $10 bill. And so sometimes $20 bills, if you're somebody who likes that kind of language, $20 bills are sometimes called double sawbucks. So that's where that comes from in the poem. Counterfeit. Thank you again. This is Counterfeit for George Floyd. because of a double sawbuck, because X plus X, numerals Roman, origin Dutch, Zogboek. Picture a homestead, the sawbuck like a sentinel beside a house it helped plank, an immigrant's house, a house it dreams of becoming, the horizon bright and cleared of creek by Jacksonian democracy. Dutch, the mother tongue of Van Buren, the only president not a native speaker of English. Neither are the owners who take the cashier's call in Arabic, Jackson flashing hand to hand, not his face, but likeness exchanged for smokes and change. Neither is it tender, the cashier thinks, but counterfeit, ink on paper crafted to cozen the eye. The punishment for forgery, to have one's face and name stuck to storefronts, to become a counterfeit year, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. I love Cynthia White's comment in the Zoom chat. I love the range of these poems. I think each of those is so important in different ways. So thank you, Chris, for sharing those. And I have to say, everyone stay tuned for Chris's other poems in the issue because I love all of them. And those are only a couple of them. We're publishing a ton this time around. So super excited. Next up is Corey Van Landingham. Corey is the author of Antidote, winner of the 2012 The Ohio State University Press / the Journal Award, and Love Letter to Who Owns the Heavens, which is forthcoming from Tupelo Press. She's a recipient of an NEA Fellowship and the Wallace Stegner Fellowship from Stanford University and teaches in the MFA program at the University of Illinois. There's lucky MFAs. Welcome, Corey. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Peter and Heidi and Kate, for the continued support. I'm always eager for a new Adroit issue to be launched, and I'm really grateful to be part of this one. And thanks to all the other readers here tonight. It's a real privilege to get to share this space with you. Thanks especially to everyone else for showing up kind of late on a Tuesday evening. I'll read two poems. The first one here is from issue 38, and this is called Juliet from the Balcony. So she says it all for him to overhear, narrates her privation. He's come over the orchard walls, all that rustling through the cypress, even above the lemon tree blossoms saturating the summer night, she can smell his neck. She's a minor philosopher here, has the semiotic not down, the country length distance between name and man. In one painting, her pale throat is engulfed, his hand bending her. In another, two white petals fallen on the balcony steps, minor detail. There is no balcony. The playwright has no word for it, 1595. How badly the audience wants her closer, for her to step from behind the window, skirt billowing. See, there is no crest, no marble lip to mount. When she speaks, she is opera's first monody. When she speaks, she is the Ponte Pietra above the Adige, Adriatic salt wind, flesh of hazelnut, milk just souring. Olive groves pulsing before the harvest, is arbiter of sun and moon, bright angel. When she speaks, she is the amphitheater split per mezzo after the earthquake, is the earthquake. When she speaks, she does not say nothing. The second poem is a little longer. It's called Reader I, and it's part of a series of poems that stem from that famous to the point of cliche phrase near the end of Jane Eyre, Reader, I married him. It's a little cheerier than the one that's being published in Adroit, which begins Reader, I buried him. So I thought I'd read a different one. And Spencer, the cicadas in this poem are very envious of the cicadas in yours. Thank you again, everyone, for your time and attention tonight. Reader, I had grown skeptical of line, of stern procession down a page's blue rule. Malmason's perfumed rose, the empress marched down, Rosa centifolia, Rosa lucida, while her husband's flotilla lapped toward Trafalgar. Of the jealous descent, I had cast off such impossible realms. Near Diamond Head, on an unseasonably cool August morning, Gloria, great aunt, finally let go the material world 40 minutes after father was lifted from his last bed. Then I shared the blood of 3 still breathings. Lone quatrain, us, who mostly didn't speak or write. All to say, when I attended the teeming wedding feasts, the high school graduations from yet another Cleveland cousin, the austere Catholic masses full of him, I softened a bit my stance, signed my name inside his family Bible, though I didn't believe. 17 casseroles sent post-surgery, reliable piles of Christmas cards. In the frozen cemetery, enough small talk to cancel out a whole sad self. When I glanced after the sprawling hand-drawn tree from which he came, I thought of shallow roots and the women of Greece mourning each year mortal Adonis. Reader, some say they were a simple people who believed in mere symbols, gods of corn. They planted in the quick festive flush of summer heat, fennel and barley and terracotta shards. Gardens of Adonis, they called these small, short, flourishing graves. And when on the 8th day the false flowers withered, the women flung them to the sea. Imagine, they're dead that present, listening. So when I make the small cut, insert the orange flowering Arizona into our disease-resistant, winter-sturdy wife of Bath, I say a little prayer. Beautiful, brief Adonis, forgive me my hubris, this dreamy cultivar, this mingled seed. We wrap grafting tape around the rose's wound. Wife now, I see it. The fresh lesion of 2, tender twinning. We know not what will come after. Peach petals, scent of myrrh, a tusked beast rushing from the forest to gut us, 4 months in hell. But we know what came before. Which ship held which man before he lay down in which new country with which wife. The log they sawed, the plates they stacked, the children they buried and the children that buried them in deep family plots. It astonishes me still how many shared the same name, how his people will gather in the same church gymnasium in Bucyrus after the funeral, the baptism, after the wedding for the same creamed chicken, that they stand in the longest lines for that. Reader, I found belief outside belief when, for the first time, the cicadas weren't screaming all evening outside our bedroom. Me, 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 me. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, that poem. Thank you so much, Corey, for sharing that one and for being a part of our issue. Finally, we have arrived at the end of our last reader. I was like, nope, we're not at the end. I don't know how to save this sentence. We are at our last reader, Laura Van Porjen. Laura is author of 3 collections of poetry, Frances of the Wider Field from Lily Poetry Review Books, Our House Was on Fire, from Ashland Poetry Press, which was nominated by Philip Levine and winner of the McGovern Prize, and also Inkblot and Art and Alter from Pecan Grove Press. She is also co-author with Gretchen Bernabe of Text Structures from Poetry, which is a book of writing lessons for educators of grades 4 through 12, which I will be definitely ordering after this because that sounds like exactly what I need right now. Laura is the managing editor for the Cortland Review, which is a literary publication that many of us here at Adroit love. And she also teaches in the low residency MFA program at Miami University and is the founder of Next Page Press. She lives in San Antonio, Texas, and we're so thrilled that she's here to join us and take us home in this poetry reading. So take it away, Laura.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone at Adroit who made this possible and the other poets for sharing this space. Most of all, thank you, everyone, for hanging in here with me, the last reader tonight. I'm going to be reading first a poem that appeared in Adroit that is in my new book that came out in March, Frances of the Wider Field. And I thank especially Peter for getting on board with Frances sort of early. So this is called Avenue F. Looking for you in the street, I said to the crabapple tree, you are Frances. To asbestos shingles, what keeps you in place? A car with new firestones stopped at the light rumbles. We will never die, though your hands could do more work. I remember you wringing starched sheets between rollers, hanging them on the line to dry. I've never been that clean in all my life. God will never reward me in the way I hope. Frances, you polished the baby's shoes. You made silver shine. You pinned prayers to your head and shook floor mats free of stones. The street can't hold my desires. Who painted those white lines? Frances, there's a dog in the road. I don't have a dog, but I like Mr. Coconut. And my cat could make a cameo, but he's sleeping somewhere. But I would like to read these 2 poems that will appear in the issue on Thursday. Thank you all for putting this reading together so we could hear this work in advance. This is called Blue Light at Night. I sleep so you will live. You have answered the phone again. I lean into the sink looking at the neighbor's house, brown siding shining in afternoon sun. I went to a funeral for Jenny's son, whose slow cancer sprung from Agent Orange. That was when you were alive. That was when I sliced a garden tomato fat with seeds. Does the sandwich I made for you still exist? The dull knife swiped with mayo sits on the counter. For a minute, I believed you might chew again. I wish I would have taken you to Red Lobster that time you asked. What's left now but your teeth? I sleep, but don't tell you about the disasters since your body draped over your keyboard, ashtray beside you, answering machine blinking with my voice. We send messages with our thumbs now. There are still popsicles here, but the heat grows worse, melting even mailboxes. We may as well be on Mars. Do you feel the change of the weather without bones? And finally, to close it up, bring it on home tonight. This is called Praise is a Dark Bird. And the first two lines are borrowed directly from a poem by Larry Levis. So we praise Larry Levis too. So this is called Praise is a Dark Bird. The Spirit says you are nothing because you haven't praised anything in months. You walk down to the river and study light, shadows, the bald cypress, and in it, a dark bird you can't name. But you know vulture and the group gathered on and around cement picnic tables is called a committee. On the ground feeding, awake, a kettle if they were in the air circling. You praise the vulture that cleans the earth of the dead. You begin to feel unafraid and think mornings might be worth getting up for. You think you could love again if only you felt the buzz of the beginning sitting across the table from you, ordering a Coke, wanting nothing in return. No one could have told you marriage was so long. You remember your father filling his dented thermos before dawn, your mother browning onions with ground beef in the electric frying pan. Once they thought you were asleep when you heard your mother say, "I don't know what to do with her. She's been so awful." And of all the people in the world you ever wanted to hurt, it was not her. You wished harm on the boys who stole your cat and shoved him in a pillowcase and threw him into traffic. Boys now living somewhere as men, and you think something must have happened to make them do that. Like the girl whose mother used to lock her out of the house and you'd see her banging on the front door to be let in. A turtle sits on a rock in the river, taking in warmth of growing light. And you think this is about beauty now, about the earth tilting like a memory of a conversation deep into the night, when the moon shone on a maple and you shivering in a Midwestern autumn. You praised so much and easily then. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Laura. And a big thank you to all of our readers tonight, as well as all of our contributors to this issue that's coming out. Reminder, on Thursday morning, theadroitjournal.org, it will be there. We will be there celebrating it. We're so excited. Just a couple of quick things before we all go back into this overwhelming universe. Number one, we are open to submissions through August 31st. So send us your work. We would love to read it. And who knows, maybe you'll be reading at our next issue release reading. Who knows? So yes, August 31st, we'd love to see what you have. Poetry, fiction, nonfiction, art, anything in between, we're game. So that is, like, all of our guidelines are on the website, and I will put the link in the Zoom chat. And the other thing I just want to remind everyone about is that we are currently open to staff applications. We are looking for poetry readers. We're looking for prose readers. We are also looking for a managing editor. And that is an opening that we're really excited about because they get to work with us directly. So if you're interested in any or all of those opportunities, we would love to hear from you. So that is something that is currently open. It may not be for much longer, so don't wait. And I will also put the link for our staff application guidelines in the Zoom chat. I'm putting both of those links in right now. And finally, I feel like I should just say, if you are somebody who is debating whether or not to get vaccinated, I'm not a healthcare worker, but please get vaccinated. Please do your research, really look for credible information, and hopefully we can all get through this continued difficult time together, and with some poems. So yes, it is free. And sometimes, depending on what state you're in, you may even get paid. So, hey, yeah, so that's all I got. Links to staff applications and submissions are in the Zoom chat a little bit up. I will repost them just in case. And I will see you all on Thursday. Take care and stay safe.